Jimmy is like that for this team in that he doesn't necessarily have to score, but he has to be kind of the catalyst for how we gonna do things. And he looked banged up. He looked like he was a little more tentative than normal. And it happens. And you've heard me talk about this all the time about being injured and trying to play,
Mm.
and you not look yourself, but you are the best option on your team. And I think early on when you saw Jimmy, he was out there, but he wasn't out there. Jimmy Butler wasn't out there.
It was one of those things like you have three of your starters right now in Jimmy, Kyle, and PJ, who are all dealing with stuff.
Not to mention
And
Tyler.
yeah, not to mention Todd. Todd didn't even play yesterday, but I'm the Heat yesterday had a historically bad offensive performance from their
Oh,
offense, from their starters. I think it was like I think they had 18 combined points, which was a record they broke, which was I think they broke the record by like 7 points from like 1971 of worst offensive outings by a starting group. I was reading on like Simon Sperling's Twitter account today. I think they were 1 for 36 playing together as a starting unit. And like even at one point, it's like the Heat had 44 points, and I think it was like 30 of them came from Victor Oladipo and Caleb
here's
Martin. It was so putrid to
right,
watch.
right.
Because yesterday you go into yesterday's game, and yes, you're in a very good spot. You got the home court advantage back. You got a game that you didn't think you were going to get, but it is one of those games where you're like, hey, this is a death grip game. You win this game, and you're basically wrapping up the series. And it felt like he were just like, ah, we're good. We'll take it back to Miami 2-2. We're good.
Here's what sucks about that. As far as shooting goes, that might be the worst game you get out of Boston because they weren't shooting the ball that well either.
No, they
And
weren't.
so you're looking at one team was at one point 20 something percent shooting, and the other team was like 32,
Yeah, it wasn't like the game. It wasn't like game two, where game two they
where
come
they
out
made everything.
they were 9 for 11 from three, and you're just like,
No,
all right, believable. What are you gonna do in a game like that? Like those are the ones where you kind of just tip your cap. You're like, all right, hot night for them, and that's gonna be a tough climb uphill. But even in that one, the Heat showed a little bit of fight coming out of halftime. Jimmy got to like 17, and it showed something, but they just had one of those hot shooting nights. Last night it was just more on the Heat being so bad. And especially the starting unit where none of them scored in double figures. I mean, you like look at it now, it's like it's laughable. It's like PJ Tucker 0 for 4, Jimmy Butler 3 for 14, Bam 3 for 5 after his, masterful game 3. Kyle Lowry 1 for 6, Max Strus 0 for 7. I mean, 18 points from your starters yesterday is embarrassing. Yeah. And so it's like you don't want to get overly down because look, 2-2 home court advantage, 2 out of 3 to go to the NBA finals. It's a good spot to be in. But man, you come out and you're just like, man, you gave nothing of in the way of resistance in that game. It was a rough watch, man. It was a rough, embarrassing watch.
it was, and the only problem that I have with it is like you knew it was going to be a long series. It's two good teams, right? And they're both defensive minded teams, so you're going to have games where if a team is hot defensively, it could look terrible, and that's kind of what happened in Game 3 for the Celtics, like 19 steals, like so.
But
But
nobody, but
my
like
my thing,
nobody's defense is that like you know what I'm saying? Like nobody's
right,
defense is that good in the
right. It's
NBA.
just right, and that was one of those games. This game, like again, the thing that frustrates me the most about this game is that was a terrible shooting. I mean, it seemed like watching the game they didn't miss, and then you look at the stats and go, wow, they actually missed a lot.
Yeah, it was
The opportunities to do something or to win that game weren't because somebody got hot, weren't because somebody went off. It wasn't any of those things. And like I don't like when we saw the matchup, we thought, okay, we'd rather deal with all the wing players of Boston than deal with that size and that just bulk of Milwaukee.
Yep.
But you got the same problems. Like they just seem like there's too many times during the course of a game where it just seems like the big guy just reaches over and gets the ball from the little guy on a rebound, especially on the offensive end. And it's like, come on. So I don't know what the solution is. I would guess that they go, look, let's just go get healthy and just leave the and
that's what it felt like. It felt like after that first quarter, it didn't feel like the Heat were going to have any kind of pushback.
But see, I always thought they would because in the back of my mind, I got 39-14.
I didn't. I was like watching this game. I was like, oh, it's going to be all Victor Oladipo tonight, huh? Like it's going to be one of those games. And I love Vic. Don't get me wrong, but you can't win a game with just Victor Oladipo carrying you.
Right. Especially when he comes into the game, you're already in a big hole because the starters haven't done anything.
Victor Oladipo can't look like the most spry guy in the court, okay? His quad didn't work 3 weeks ago.
Right. Is that amazing that when you looked on the Heat side and you see the guy playing with the most energy, it's probably the guy that is the most excited to be playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if, and sometimes if the right guy does it, right? Like to me, that story right there with what Victor Oladipo is doing right now, forget how many points, forget what he's doing right now, should kind of be an inspiration to everybody because that guy didn't look like he was going to ever play again. But it didn't have that effect. So a lot of times it's Tyler Hero. Right? That comes in and kind of says, hey, we can let's keep it close. If we keep it close, we can make a run. It was just flat. And I think it comes from your two guys you look at for energy. So you got Jimmy or you got Tyler, two guys that give you that, we're going to score the next 10 points and everybody's going to follow. Right? There really wasn't a guy like that last night.
Hit the idea here, Marcos.
The Ticket is the home of every Miami Heat game. WAXY South Miami and WSFS HD2 Miramar, an Odyssey station.
And the headlines are brought to you by the new Palmetto Ford Truck Super Center. Why buy your truck at a car store? Palmetto Ford, we know trucks. So your final score last night in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals, 102-82 for your Miami Heat. They're outscored 29.
It wasn't that close.
Oh, no, that was all Duncan Robinson window dressing. I gave double middle fingers to every one of his three-pointers. They got outscored 29-11 in the first quarter, and it all kind of spiraled down. Did win the fourth quarter, though, so, we're looking here and win quarters. So
stop.
No, that's what I was told. I was told we were here to win quarters. Oh, people said that.
There ain't nobody in Miami that positive. You a liar.
There are people there. No. All I heard all series. All I heard all series was, you got to win quarters. So he won a quarter at the end there. So,
the only person doing that right now is the keep it going guy and the kid when they were leaving.
Good job, good effort.
Yes.
Good job, good effort, guys.
Yes. That's it.
Well, you know what? Very similar situation. The Heat were down 2-2, or were even up 2-2, coming back to Miami. And everybody thought Game 5, Heat were going to smoke them, take a 3-2 series lead, and have 2 games to close it out. When in fact it turned into tied 2-2, coming back to Miami, got worked. Game 5 by the Celtics, and then LeBron had that legacy changing game in Game 6, and so it didn't quite go as planned. It did end up getting the result you did want, but it did not go as planned. So it's a lot like this, where it's like, okay, it's 2-2 after 4. Didn't quite go as planned because you got blown out in the game at home. They then you won probably a surprising game 3 in everybody's eyes, and then yesterday was an embarrassment. And so now you're coming back and you're going. You got 2 out of the 3 last games in your building. You've been very good there. You've only lost once there all year. So let's see what happens. Wednesday night's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be a fun atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think the most important thing right now is, you kind of appreciate what everybody is trying to do, but in the end, guys getting banged up and hurt and not being able to be 100%. You've been planning for this all year. Now you have to either have faith in the guys that have done it for you all year, or you can keep trying to play the hurt guys. Like, I don't know how hurt Jimmy is, right? But clearly, something's that dude don't miss that many mid-range shots. Get out of here.
Yeah,
So
and then
I'm gonna put it on. He's a little banged up because there ain't nothing that Jimmy Butler's ever done besides not shoot that would ever give you the indication that he could go cold.
Well, his jump shot and his jump shot's been on point all playoffs.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
It's been on point all playoffs, and then the idea of putting pressure at the rim and having to go get free throws, because if he's not going to do it, the only guy you have a lot of you're going to need that from is going to be Bam, who, I mean, completely reverted from whatever it was in game 3 that when he brought it, it was not there for the team yesterday, as it was for anybody. I mean, everybody stunk up the joint.
Look, they paint look, once you start shooting those threes and they ain't going in, those guys get closer and closer to the paint.
Well, the 3-point shooting is a huge concern for me because I don't know who on this team you really have faith in hitting threes right now, because it's not like Max Strus is lighting it up. He did hit the Big Onions 3 in game 3, but Duncan Robinson, up until that fourth quarter where he, put lipstick on a pig, giving middle fingers to every one of those threes that went in for him.
So
Tyler Hero's shooting has been awful. And now he's hurt or has been hurt. I don't know what chicken and egg part comes there. If he's been hurt and that's affecting his shot, or his shot is off, because he's shooting 23% from downtown.
Right.
I mean, I was thinking about this last night, walking my garbage to the curb, because it was just symbolic of last night. Trash. And I thought to myself,
tomorrow's trash day.
If I needed somebody on the Heat to hit a 3 for me right now, who would I go with? And I walked back and I got to the end of the curb, smelling the stinky garbage. And I was like, I think Max Strus is number 1. Is Gabe Vincent number 2 for me right now? Who do I really trust hitting a 3 right now for this Miami Heat team? Because I was like, I think I go Max Strus, PJ Tucker if it's from the corner.
Although he was shooting some flatliners.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's what I was saying. It was funny.
Hey.
It was almost, but it wasn't weird watching. Normally when you see a team get their ass kicked like that, we play body language doctor. Wasn't it interesting, going and seeing the 3 of them, PJ, Jimmy, and Kyle, all kind of sit there on the bench? They're all just kind of fine. They're just oh wow, this is getting bad. But they didn't look bothered. They look kind of just all right, is what it is.
I think sometimes you put preparation and into something, and then you get to it and you're shocked. As well as you prepared and as well as you've been playing, you're sometimes shocked about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I promise you could take any guy on that team and put him in a situation. He's never probably been involved in a situation where, I don't care how good the other team is, where you just go, where'd you start? 1 for 13. You know what I mean? That, you just look around and you go all right, we're getting open shots. Nobody's forcing it. We're not really turning it over. And we're just shooting bricks. And you keep thinking to yourself, this can't last the whole game, can it? Because
do you think we'll get a normal game on game 5? Will it be just can we get a standard, 27-24 first
No,
quarter? Or is it
can't.
going to be like, are the Heat going to come out there and they're going to club them like, 39-15 to start the first quarter again?
This series is like playing the run and shoot. Back in the day, we used to play the Houston Oilers back with Warren Moon. They didn't play with a tight end. It was all wide receivers. So for 2 times a year, we had to prepare with nickel and dime, things that we didn't normally do because we were run the ball and defensive team. So you just chalk it up to that. This series is playing kind of like very similar to the games during the year. Like it's never both teams going. Either one defense is stifling the other team's not making shots, but there's never really been that many close games. So this series is unique to this series that there's no ebb and flow. There's no, one team's up 10, the other team has a run. It's nope, you get curb stomped and hang on.
We'll take a quick break. We did 15 minutes of Heat. We actually did 20 minutes of Heat there to open up the show. I want to get over to the hockey side of things.
Heat had done 10 minutes of Heat, 15 minutes
of
Heat.
The Heat didn't give us nothing, except for Oladipo.
They did about 2 to 3 minutes of Heat and then went to break.
Oladipo, and Caleb Martin. That's who showed up last night. I don't count those Duncan Robinson threes. Big middle fingers at those. But we'll flip on over to the other tragedy from yesterday, and that was the Florida Panthers, whose season came to an end last night. And that's next. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like this game has been this series has been just so full of swings. Like my initial reaction is, the Heat are gonna bounce back because that's what's been happening. I would like to see, honestly, like a normalized game a little bit, but I don't know, man. The tone of this series has been super weird with the big leads and the runs these teams have gone on. It's been very strange.
Who would have ever thought that at 29-11, that would be the closest you would ever be?
Tough.
Think about that.
Yeah.
29-11. That's the closest you got.
It was a rough one, dude. It was a rough one to watch for sure. Let me hear from
they've gone 2 games in this postseason where they've scored 79 points and 82 points.
Yep. No, their offense can be putrid. It really can. And especially if they don't force the turnovers. And I think a big part of that is just look, it's not only the fact that they kind of can get clogged up by these guys creating their shots, but also the 3-point shooting has just been non-existent this postseason. It's crazy that they've gone from the best 3-point shooting team in the league to they're the worst 3-point shooting team left. But I think even before, when it was still a handful of teams, they were like 12th or something like that. Right. So I don't know, man. It's crazy. 18 points yesterday among your starters. Crazy. Oof. Terrible. Bam was 9 points, 3 of 5. Jimmy buckets, 3 of 14, 6 points.
Oof.
Terrible. I'm telling you, Tua. Let's hear from Eric Spoelstra yesterday, the Heat head coach, and this is what Spo had to say. So they just got outplayed.
We just got outplayed tonight. We got guys that love competition, love these kind of moments, the playoffs. And this is part of the playoffs. There's extreme highs, extreme lows, a lot of emotion. You just have to stay the course, stay together. And what you're looking at is a great series. It's 2-2. You have to embrace that and come together, and hopefully this competition brings out the absolute best in all of us.
I mean, it's a weird series. I don't know if I would call it a great series. This has been a very, very strange back and forth. All jokes about the winning the quarters thing aside, like the Heat have had, 2 tremendous haymakers and have looked great, especially when they've been able to turn Boston over. But this has not been, I feel like, a well-played series so far. Feels like it's been It's just been blowout after blowout, runs after runs. There's been, nobody really matching each other like shot for shot. Fourth quarter was exciting, obviously, with them holding off Boston and Max Strus hitting that clutch 3 and all that, but very weird, man, with the kind of tilts these teams have had back and forth. 30-point deficits, 25-point deficits, 20-point deficits, 26-point deficits. Very, very weird. Here's a little bit more from Spo after yesterday's loss.
No, we're not making any excuses. Our guys love competition, and our team has proven that we have a bunch of different ways that we can find a solution to get a win. We can do it in the mud. We can win it ugly. We can win it when the floodgates come open, hitting threes. We can do it with, Jimmy taking over a game. We can do it when he's facilitating. We have the mental fortitude and the collective toughness, to be able to embrace what we have. It's just a very competitive, good series. This is what you want. And they got the best of us tonight. We'll take this hit. We'll do this together, and then we'll get back to Miami and get ready for Game 5.
So not using the question on that was dealing with the 3 guys who are hurt. Jimmy, PJ, and Tyler Hero was out yesterday with a groin injury.
Those are tricky. Groin is even more trickier than
and he did not look good. Like physically in that Game 3, just did not look like he was. He looked like
Jimmy did last night.
Yeah, Jimmy looked slow. Jimmy did not look. Look, man, the guy's gone from looking like the best player in the playoffs, and these last couple of outings, you just see that knee thing does seem like it's an issue for him, especially yesterday. Can I ask you a question? Yeah.
Knowing what you know now, would you have sat Jimmy and PJ Tucker?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I get why they're not going to, but the thing that bothers me is if you're going to play that game and you're going to have them out there, like I wish it was more of a fight and it was going to be something back and forth. If you're going to put that forth of an effort, like why even have them warm up? It's like
right.
It felt like the Heat really decided early on in that series. Like you said, this was not a Game 2 performance from Boston where the offense was overwhelming and they were hitting everything. Like it felt like if the Heat could have given average offense back, right, it would have been somewhat of a fight. But between the first quarter being as lopsided as it was and the free throw discrepancy, which has just been, so tilted in Boston's favor.
That game could have lasted 5 hours. If the Heat were to do what Boston was doing, it would have been a free throw shooting contest. It would have felt a lot. The fact of the matter is that the Heat didn't really have anybody other than Oladipo that was even trying to take it to the hoop.
Yeah, and Oladipo was great. He was the only guy. He was at one point like the only offense the Heat had. They had like I think at one point 44 points. I think 30 of them came from Oladipo and Caleb Martin. Which, right, great for those guys to have performances, but you're not going to have a lot of success with those guys as your leading scorers. Not going to lead to a lot of good things for you. So,
nope.
It was a rough night for the Miami Heat. It was a rough night for the Florida Panthers, who lost 2-0 to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They got swept.
Are you more disappointed with the Panthers? I'm more disappointed with the Panthers, not because they lost. Right? I'm not upset that they lost. But the fact is that if ever you lose a contest, you want to at least lose doing what you do. Right? I think the stat was they got held to one goal 3 times all year. I don't know if I'm accurate with that.
3 times all year now, 3 times this series?
Yeah.
Well,
so
4 times a series to 1 goal or less.
So from that standpoint, I'm more disappointed that we didn't get to see the Panthers team we saw all year. And I don't mean just with the amount of goals scored, but the aggressiveness.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, like if you're
aggressive.
Are you asking me though? Am I more disappointed in the Panthers or the Heat?
Yeah,
I'm more disappointed in the Panthers season ending. Like the Heat. Look, the Heat are in a good spot. it's, they had to do one thing after that meltdown that happened in game 2. You had to do one thing: go get a win in Boston, and they did.
Well, why when they lose, they got to lose by 40?
I don't know. It's ugly. I'm not saying yesterday wasn't embarrassing. I'm not saying yesterday wasn't It was one of the worst Heat playoff games I've ever seen. I'm not making any excuses. I'm not trying to mince words. It was one of the worst Heat postseason games I have ever watched as a fan.
Agreed.
I was embarrassed. It was a disgrace. It felt like they didn't try. I hated watching every minute of it. And by the way, I made myself. I could have turned it off in the third quarter. I didn't. I watched every minute of that garbage. However, 2-2, going back home, 2 out of 3 are in your building. Should it go 7? You're in a good spot. But there are concerns. Jimmy's health's a concern. Tyler's health is a concern. Bam not being able to seem to score with Robert Williams on the floor is a concern. And they don't have any reliable three-point shooting anymore. And that goes without even saying Kyle Lowry, what does he really give you from a production standpoint? He was fantastic his first return. Best he's looked in the playoffs. Do you know what you're getting night in and night out? Can veterans like Kyle and PJ with this every other night schedule, can they give you that same burst? Can they give you that same effort? Because a lot's being asked of them. You're asked to be going and defending a lot of talented players. Can they give you that night? Is that why there was such a piss poor effort yesterday? I don't know. So I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm not trying to sugarcoat. I was horrified watching that game yesterday and embarrassed because you had a golden opportunity to put a death grip on the series. But I do have enough perspective to know, hey, you did what you had to do. You went in there. You got a great win in game 3. You set yourself back up to have home court advantage. Okay? So it's both. It's like yesterday was an embarrassment, but you're okay. Like you're in an okay spot going into tomorrow.